The market is showing a setup for a major blast off that's coming. Now, that would make sense with the US heading towards rate cuts rather than rate increases, as well as the fact that every 4 years, the crypto market has gone parabolic. Today, we'll look with Paul from Definity at some of the markets that give us an indication of where money is flowing, as well as we'll look at Bitcoin, ETH, and then some altcoins that are absolutely popping off this week. Welcome to the Crypto Rain channel and our family. Now, if you, like me, came into crypto because you realized the potential for life-changing gains over a greater 4 to 8 year period, and you're looking for discussions on becoming a solid, unshakable, savage crypto investor, like a Navy SEAL of crypto investing, you're in exactly the right place and the right family, the Rainmaker family. Now, the reason I created this channel is because I was once new to the crypto space myself 7 years ago. Back then, I was looking for a crypto channel and a group that understood crypto as an investment and discussed the most important things like the overall investment cycle, specific projects and the pros and cons of those projects, the risks of those projects, the guesses at upside if it came together well. And I didn't find that, so we created it. And I say we because it isn't just me anymore. It's a family of Rainmakers, and you see them here in the chat. You will see them in our free Telegram group, and the link to that is below, and you will definitely find them in our private Patreon group that allows you access to our Rainmaker private Discord. And this is where the best discussion and best info is. Now, there are other benefits too to being in that Discord, but you will have to join us to find out. Do note, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a crypto investor myself. Paul invests in many of the different markets out there, not just crypto. And none of this is to be taken as financial advice. Now, if you haven't already, make it rain on that like button, strap in for the show, and help me welcome Paul from Definity. Paul, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure as always. It's a Fed day today, so a very important day. We're looking to see whether interest rates are going to go down by 25 basis points or 50 basis points. I think either way, it's going to be a bullish market. If it's 25 basis points, the market will be waiting for another 25 in a few weeks' time, a few months' time. If it's 50, it'll be a bullish signal. The dollar may not necessarily go down immediately on that news, and we might see a bit of market volatility short term, just because it is a bullish factor and a bullish factor for an economy. And I've noticed that some of the other currencies that have seen interest rate cuts, when the cuts have happened, it hasn't actually weakened the currencies immediately. And when you learn standard economic theory at university or what we have here as A level, there's an economic book written by economists who Beg Dornberg and Fisher, who say that when interest rates go down, the currency goes down. That's not necessarily true. It's not how the markets work. It can be true, but it's not always true. It depends how the market views it. And if the market is, for example, interest rates going up might make the currency go down, which is completely inverted to what the theory says. So it's a really important thing that markets kind of do what they want to do and not necessarily what academics think they should do. But either way, once the dust has settled, I think the path of the US dollar, as we were talking about on Friday, so we've not had many days, but since then, but as we were talking about on Friday, the path of the US dollar is still down. I've been talking about that for some time now. And on Friday, we were looking for a break into an all-time high with the Dow Jones and the equity markets, and they moved into new highs and are just sort of hovering below those highs at the moment as the market awaits further news. As far as Bitcoin and the cryptocurrencies are going, there's some life coming into some of the altcoins, which is really interesting. That some, as you say, some are popping off, and some of the charts that I've just had a look at a few minutes before the show started were looking far more bullish than we've seen in some time. So there is life there in the altcoin market that is a really good sign for the future. But I think part of it is we're in this bullish cycle. The markets we talked about how rates would go down. That's about to come to fruition. That's a call that we've been saying for a long time. And we've been saying the market's bullish for a long time. And equities, yes, it has been. Gold, silver, yeah, it's been bullish. Lots of things have been moving up. Bitcoin has been consolidating, and it's been a bit of a frustrating grind for some months, but that doesn't make it bearish. It just makes it a grind. And sometimes the market does that. And through years of experience, you just get to learn that this is what happens. It's the resolution of the range that's far more important, and that path is still set to be to the upside, even if there is a bigger correction in the short term on the horizon before the end of the year. It's all building up to probably a Trump victory if he doesn't get assassinated, which is absolutely incredible as to what's going on there. But if either way, I don't think it would make any difference. As I said, Kamala Harris, if she gets in, the dollar will just go down, and it'll appear to be really bullish anyway. So the markets are doing what they want to do, and the underlying structure of the market is still bullish. And I just can't see anything that's changed from that. And politicians generally don't affect the market that much. They might attenuate it a little bit, or they might amplify it a bit, but it's always in the direction that it's already going in.
Yeah. So I was thinking about why so many people wash out of the crypto space. We have this 4-year cycle, which is shorter than most cycles and most everything else. And it's been on my mind a lot lately, how many people are just capitulating and giving up like the last 9 months, and can't they see what's coming? And then I realized that they can't. They've never been through market cycles before. This is their first time. So even when I came into crypto in 2017, I had already been following market cycles, the real estate market cycle and the stock cycle to some degree, for like 18 years. So I wasn't new to cycles, and I knew like the punishment feels the worst right before it gets better. And so, the last 9 months, some of the people in crypto have been totally capitulating and washing out and turning sour. And I don't know, I hope that sharing with people what the future looks like would help. And some of them just choose to argue with me. I'm like, okay, maybe investment cycles aren't for you, or maybe you're just too new to realize it yet. Just wait and watch, because like Bitcoin is showing that we're in a greater bull market still. It's just like the 3 steps forward, 1 step back that always happens in a greater bull market. And we're not at the blow off top stage yet. That's the part that really gets everyone's attention, but that is likely coming still. And I feel like we're setting up for that. And I'm really excited with that, because that's the part that has me in crypto. That blow off top functionally retired me in 2021 after preparing the whole bear market leading up to that. And then I've reinvested everything during this bear market and just waiting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everybody's different in terms of how much risk they want to take, how much time they want to spend. And people who are new to the market tend to find that there's so much volatility. If they don't buy something that goes up 20% in a day, or 50% or whatever it is, then they think it's a failure and they get out. So it's part of the TikTok generation, isn't it? Where everybody's so short term, they want quick hits for everything. If something's just taking a little bit too long, they move on to the next thing. And that is a problem, that you can't be like that when it comes to investing. You've got to have a certain amount of patience. And it's not necessarily that, I mean, from my point of view, if something is not performing, I don't like to stay with it unless there's something really strong underlying it that keeps a position on from a purely technical point of view. But there is a certain amount of patience that needs to come when you're deciding from a macro point of view whether the market is bullish or bearish. And we've seen many instances along the way where very bearish situations, the Middle East, the October events of last year, and all that sort of stuff, and the war in Russia, and all these big headlines that keep coming in, and the market just keeps going up, and nothing seems to really affect it. And it's knowing that if you're looking at mainstream media, you're likely to get shaken out. You're going to be on the wrong side of the calls. And as I've said before, the topping phase will be far more aggressive with far more bullish sentiment, not sentiment that we're seeing at the moment. That, again, we can all be wrong. It's not that anyone's got the monopoly on that. We're just trying to look at the probabilities. But it's very recently, it's been unlikely that we are seeing the major top simply because the sentiment is so bearish and has been so bearish. And it's still, paradoxically, I think, quite bearish on the equity markets, even though they're near highs. So I think people are focusing on the prospects of recession and the Fed being behind the curve and a lot of geopolitical risk and a lot of the stories that are going around that aren't particularly very nice in the headlines, and expecting that to affect the market. Yet the market is doing very well underlying everything else. So the answer to that is you've got to be careful where you get your information from. And overall, I always default to what the charts are saying and then listen to what the sort of news outlets are saying on the periphery, because they're most likely to be speaking in inverse. And when they start talking the other way, that will give us the first clue that we're near the end. I mean, gold has hit a new high, and I'm not really sure that we've seen that represented in the news media very much at all. In fact, in the mainstream non-financial, it's not been mentioned at all. And I think it's a really important thing. There are a few signs in terms of adverts for buying gold. You know, the gold companies suddenly start asking people to bring in their gold because of the demand. And I've heard a couple of those, but that's about it. So I don't think that move is over. And the dollar, as we were talking about for many times, is teetering on the edge of a massive level. So if that breaks, the dollar's going to go down pretty fast, which means more capital will flow into the US, and it means that it's effectively an even greater interest rate cut. So there's some really bullish factors that are at play here, and sentiment and fear is what drives the market. And it was only 3 weeks ago, I think, that I was being asked whether I'm still bullish on crypto, as though there was some big change. And it's like, well, no, there hasn't been a change. I am still bullish. There's not really anything that's gone on other than the market's been a bit, to be fair, it's been really tedious. It's been sideways, and these times are enough to shake most patient people out. And there may still be a bigger shakeout. I don't know. I'm not sure. But I think the resolution of that will be to the upside.
Yeah, the likelihood, like so far since the inception of Bitcoin, every 4 years, there's been a massive bull run in crypto with a blow off top that just takes the altcoins and Bitcoin itself to crazy highs. And that's played out every 4 years, or almost every 4 years, like not quite 4 years, like 3.8 or 3.6 years, depending on the cycle. And we're heading into that. You add on top, like all the other things are setting up for not just crypto, but stocks and other things take off as interest rates get cut. Money flows out of, say, the US dollar into harder assets. And when that happens, crypto usually gets a bunch of growth from that as well. And so it's setting up quite nicely. But people who are new to this, they just don't know what to look for. And sentiment is amazingly down, while the charts and the setup for this is amazingly bullish. And that's what happens at this point every cycle. If you look at the charts and you look way to the left on the charts and you see prices being really low on something before they went really high, well, guess what the sentiment during that time felt like? Exactly what it feels like now. And a whole bunch of people washed out then too. And that's just the way it plays out. If you're looking to make life-changing wealth, or even life-changing wealth being here, you can't make that if you don't start to understand these patterns and you don't learn how to not follow general sentiment and to be able to identify what the probabilities are of things going the different ways. Sometimes general sentiment is your best indicator that it's probably going to go the opposite of what they're thinking. I mean, the simple numbers are 90% of people don't do well, in fact, do very poorly in crypto. So general sentiment is usually what they're trading on. And that's the indicator that if you're almost just counter trading that, you'll do better than average. Now, the exceptional traders, the 5% that do exceptionally well and make life-changing wealth in this, they have just learned how to invest in companies that have really good probabilities of doing well, and then just being patient and letting it play out. Now, let's look at the macro market. What markets are you looking at, Paul, or keeping an eye on that you want to just show us real quick? You said gold broke to new highs. What other gold and what else?
Well, pretty much, I'm always looking at everything, and I think it's a good way to approach it, even if you're not trading those markets, just to see what the general trends are. But the Dow Jones we looked at Friday. This is basically an ascending triangle pattern, which is broken into new highs. I said it would break into a new high, which is just done just before the Fed announcement. It may come back just to stop people out on that breakout. That can be around big announcements. I don't like to see this sort of thing happening. I want to see the market quiet and then it breaks out. But ultimately, I still think this is going higher. So no change there in the broad strategy. The market's going up. Something that was a little odd, I noticed that the VIX index, which is the volatility index or the cost of protecting the downside on the S&P 500, started to tick up a little bit, which was a bit strange because the S&P seems to be sort of in a sideways pattern or even breaking to the upside. So I think there's a little bit of hedging going on. I'm just going to keep an eye on that. But overall, chart is still bullish, even if there is a correction. And in terms of the NASDAQ, that has been going sideways. It did make a high, and it's quite far off that high. So the relationship between NASDAQ outperforming and underperforming, I think, is shifting. So what I think this is telling us is the real markets now will start to underperform. And what I mean by the real markets, of course, they're all real markets. But what I mean by that is the traditional businesses might start to take off, and the well-priced AI companies and tech companies could still do well, but they may not do as well on the spread. So they could consolidate a little bit, maybe take some of the heat out of the AI stocks, whilst the traditional businesses use AI and get savings in their cost savings, and then it will help their bottom line, and that will go higher. So there's a few things that are potentially going on there. I mean, I come up with some ideas. It might not be that, it might be something else, but either way, you can see that the NASDAQ is now stalling a little bit, whereas the other markets are moving higher. So in terms of gold, new all-time highs are just being hit, and this is a weekly chart, so it's just coming off there, but trend has been very aggressive to the upside. And silver is in a consolidation, but this is a very bullish consolidation, and I think that's going to break out, or should break out soon. The other markets that are important to me and important to watch is obviously the dollar index, which is just hovering and hovering above this psychological 100 level. And it's where it stopped here before and then bounced, and then it broke through. And I thought, here, that's it, we're going down. But no, it came back up for another move, and then tried again, and then came up for another move. So there will be people buying it here saying, oh yeah, it's low, we're going to buy it here because it's held so many times. And I think they're going to finally get caught out, and we'll see a break to 99.6, which is a super important level, and then a move lower from there. So this pattern here for me is a nice little continuation pattern, which just suggests it's going to go down pretty hard. And as I was saying at the top of the show, you know, it might just bounce up a little bit before it goes down, just because that's the nature of the way an expected rate cut can work. You know, because they're saying they're going to cut rates, because everybody knows that they're going to cut rates, it's just a question of how much. There will be an element of, okay, you sell the rumor, buy the fact. But I think that will work only in a short term, and the big picture sort of trend is still set for a sharp move down. And interest rates as such, three-month is still looking heavy. I mean, if they do 50 basis points, they may even do another 25 at a later date, which is what will keep the dollar weak. 10-year money starting to find some support, but it's all the way down at 3.6%, 3.69, 3.7%, which, given that short-term interest rates are at 5.25%, there's a massive disparity. So rates need to come down fast to match these lower yields. And all of that should push money into A, the stock market, B, to riskier assets, things like Bitcoin, and to hedge with, with Bitcoin. If you're an American investor and you're seeing the value of your dollar going down fast, you've got a choice. You can buy another currency. That currency might be the Swiss franc, it might be sterling, it might be the Australian dollar, it could be the New Zealand dollar, or it could be gold, which is clearly what people are doing, but it could also be Bitcoin. So I think you're going to see some hedging going on as interest rates go down. The fact that rates are coming down means that people are getting less money for the risk, what's called the risk-free rate, or in their bank accounts. They're going to want to make their money work because they're getting used to this sort of higher rate of return. So that encourages fund managers to take greater risks in order to get that return for their clients. So this lowering and this pressure to the downside of interest rates will cause more speculative trading and more liquidity at this point, and that's what will drive the moves into these other riskier assets.
Yeah. Awesome. Let's take a look over at Bitcoin and ETH, unless there's any other charts you want us to look at first.
No, I think that's it for now. Yeah, they're all. I mean, I could show you some of the European markets, but they're all just looking bullish, pretty much. But yeah, Bitcoin and ETH.
Quick shout out to everyone in the chat. This is live. Chris Ashby with the first comment in. What's up, Jay and Paul? Happy rate cut day. Abe is
Hi, Chris.
All right, Chris again. Hit the thumbs up. All. What's up, Abe? Abe said, "Chris, I was the first one here." I finally rate cut day. Can we cover bump and Senate, please? I will put a star by that. We should have time for that. Ivers, you're asking a question that's a very good question, but Paul will never cover Definity's price action because he calls it considering his own or covering his own book or talking his own book. So we won't be able to look at that with Paul on with us.
Yeah. But what I would do is I point you to some of the recent online discussions. The one with Randy Chavez that was on Friday.
Yeah, look back at the video history on this channel too, because it aired on both channels with Randy and I on Friday.
Okay.
Did an interview with Manu and Chris from Definity. That will get you updated on what's going on with Definity.
And come away from that with your own thoughts, but it's I think it's just incredible.
It is incredible. I'm really excited.
But you'd have to say that I'm biased. So of course, that's why I want you to do your own research to see what exactly is going on. And I think you'll be pleased.
Money May all day says yes. Wednesday live stream. Game Trove jumping in. Game Trove also has his own channel. He covers blockchain gaming and dives into some really good small cap projects.
Cool. I mean, one of the things I'd say about this Bitcoin chart is the amount of time that it spends going sideways. The amount of time that it does this is usually rewarded with a really nice trend. And how can I prove that to you? We'll look at what happened with the Dow Jones over this period when it went from March 21 to October 23 in this massive range. Now, hopefully Bitcoin's not going to do this for this long, but this is what it did. And around October this time, remember, I was people who've been watching the show for a long time will know that I was bullish, expecting a breakout. And as we approached new highs, there was all this thing about the debt ceiling, and there was all these bearish things that bank failures, et cetera, that the market couldn't go higher. And here we are at 41,500, and it's still pushing up. And so this is the thing with Bitcoin. The longer it goes sideways in a bullish trend, the sharper the upward trend will be once it breaks out. So this would normally be the sort of price action that would indicate a top because it's volatile and it's sideways, and tops are usually built with this sort of volatility. But it also is shown by a breakdown that stays down, and this is caught the bears out. So the bears have shorted it and got caught, and now it's just going sideways. So that's not enough to really maintain a bearish position. So for me, this is still in the bullish upward trend. If you bought it near the lows or as it was starting to move higher, or some of the upward breakouts that we were discussing around here, there's still no reason to exit your position, not from a sentiment point of view and not from a charting point of view. So for me, the trend is still up and staying with it. But I completely understand that people are losing patience with it and are frustrated by this range trading price action, because that's what it's designed to do. It's designed to keep, get people out of the markets, and it's designed to sort of make you think it's never going to go up, and then that's when it goes up. So for the moment, I can't say exactly when this will break out, but I haven't changed my view that it will break out, and we could be closer to that than we think. Now, ETH has been performing worse, as we know, and it has a breakout point for me, or a very important level. That's the breakdown point, which is here at 28.22. It bounced off it and then broke through it conclusively, rallied all the way up to that level. So we know that that's so important, and it's still playing below and actually looking a little bit heavy, if I'm honest with you. So I'm not really sure why ETH is performing so badly, whilst other coins like Solana is holding above their support points. I mean, it's not trending away, but it's at least holding above. So ETH is definitely underperforming against Bitcoin, but it's in a consolidation. It's still an upward trend as far as I'm concerned. So I'm not thinking that that the trend is over, that everything's over. But it's definitely one where it's sitting on the sidelines until it can take out this 28.22 level to confirm that the bull market is back on. But Bitcoin on a spread is doing much better. So if I had a choice between one or the other, I'd go for Bitcoin.
Yeah, ETH's been performing interesting. I've been watching it, and it's always been a little bit easier to predict than it has been lately. But Bitcoin showing strength, and I wouldn't be surprised if ETH catches up some point in the future. But I think when Bitcoin breaks out of this pattern, the chances are really strong it breaks to the upside and it just continues this bigger run.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's take a look at ETH, or are we ready to jump into the altcoins?
Yeah, we can jump in. Yeah.
Okay. Let's take a look first at Nervos, massively popping off, and I want to get your thoughts on this chart.
Yeah. So I'd like to have seen this a little earlier, of course, because there was a build up to that breakout. And now where we are now, it feels a little like I'm chasing it, but fantastic that we're seeing this sort of stuff. To me, it suggests that things that are sleeping and looking really bearish and we don't know where they're going, all of a sudden will break out. There were some signs from this low to this low, and how in the bear trend it'd been making fresh lows all the way down, and this was the first time that it didn't do that. It went down and then started to turn around. Now this may have caught people by surprise because there wasn't much of a lead up into the breakout, and for it to create a base, the first important point was across over this 1.1 cents level, which went right through, chasing that or finding it without knowing that it was, or if you weren't watching it day to day, would have been very difficult. And since then, it's been putting in some bullish bars and continuing to move up. Now, where it stopped is at this 2 cents level, which is a very key resistance point, which in many ways isn't surprising. So what we tend to see sometimes is a bit of symmetry. So it might just come back into this zone, back to 1.5, and then go back again and take this 2 out. But that trend is now up. So we're assuming that the trend has changed. It's given the signals. From a charting perspective, it's looking really great. I would like to have just caught it a bit earlier because I feel like we're chasing it a bit, and it has hit its resistance already. But um, but by the same token, I also like to reward coins that are performing well. That's part of technical analysis. We want to go with the stronger coins and not the weaker ones. So although it's doing really well, I don't want to penalize it for doing really well either. It allow a consolidation and then get back in. So for me, the big resistance level is the one where it spiked into, which was 0.02. Some good selling has happened there. And I think that's probably enough for short-term traders to want to take their profits. So a pullback to around 1.4, 1.5, I think is fair. And then I'd look to pick it up. So I might have to wait here for the moment, but I don't want that to suggest that I'm not bullish on it, because I do think this is overall a buy. It's just a question of whether we buy on a pullback, or the most cautious way would be to wait for this 0.2 level, or the 2 cents level to break. And I know that might sound like, well, why don't you just buy earlier? We've discussed that a few times. There's obviously lots of different ways to play the market, and that's down to the individual. But I don't mind buying something on a higher breakout because it's showing that the market wants to go into an even higher level. And so I don't mind not paying a lower price for that, for that sort of surety that it's going to go up. But it has also been very volatile, and I would like to know a little bit about what potentially has pushed it up. I know that in technicals we don't tend to do that, but it would be nice to know whether it was some form of announcement, whether it's expected. And I think this needs to settle down a little bit before we can start saying it's a buy again, because there's going to be a lot of people who are holding this that are selling into it and taking some profits. We need that to subside and then pick it up again on the retracement. So for me, overall, longer term, I think it will be a buy, and it's a good one to come back to. But in the short term, I think I'd have to wait just to let this volatility play out.
Yeah, so it's kind of between a buy and a wait for you.
Yeah, and if right here, right now, I think it's a wait, because I'm just chasing it just a little bit, and
Yeah.
it's already this move here is known as a spike, and until it actually closes, if it closes down here, then it would suggest a bit more of a correction, or at least a consolidation. So that's why I'm just slightly cautious in the very short term and looking for a pullback. But as you can see, where it stopped here, here, and here, it's massive, massive resistance. So within the next few days, if it's taken that out, I would automatically be buying it, because it's got higher than that key resistance point, and that's that's the way technicals works.
Yeah. Let me share a little bit of fundamentals on this. But if you look at the price, it shot up 2x in just really short amount of time. But here's the overall history on this. If you look, it's been around since 2019, possibly even earlier. It starts getting tracked in 2019 by CoinMarketCap. And so it ran with its bigger high being in March of 2021. And then when we had the metaverse pump, it pumped back up with much of the rest of the crypto market, though not everything pumped back up. And then it settled down into this long bear market. But earlier this year, it ran up some and then corrected back, and then just totally popped off here. And I don't know what caused it to pop off like that so strong. So in the last 7 days, it's just gone crazy. So if you look at it on the last month, some event must have happened here, and it just has gone up and went all the way back up here. And then, yeah, we'll see what it does from here. But I think the months ahead are going to be really good for crypto. A little bit about Nervos. Nervos is an open source public blockchain ecosystem. Its goal is to create peer-to-peer crypto economy network where users can access a wide range of provably secure blockchain services and capabilities. The mainnet launched in November 2019 with a novel dual-layer architecture. There's a base layer where the consensus mechanism operates and smart contract assets are stored, and a computation layer where transactions are processed. So essentially, it's another probably layer 1 blockchain that has smart contracts on it and probably faster than Bitcoin. How much traction is it getting? I'm not very familiar with this. So I can't say I know who's building on it or what kind of things are running on it. But just looking at the charts, it's probably going to have a good year this next year with the greater crypto market. Is it a buy for me? I like to buy things I know more fundamentally about. I just don't know much about Nervos. So for me, it's just a wait. Yeah, I think in the short term, probably it corrects back and trades a little bit. Obviously, the big pump here would have been nice to catch beforehand and get a nice 2x when most everything else wasn't 2xing. But something caused it to run this last week a ton. Let's take a look at our next one, which is SUI.
So yeah, SUI, very interesting point to pick this up. It's been in a downward trend, bear trend, showing some signs of turning around. What we've got there, we've got the spike low. That spike low of 5th of August, which I always find a really interesting date because that's when the equity markets went down and everyone was talking about a crash, if you remember. And this sort of made its low, and look how quickly it recovered. So that is a really good sign, a sign that it's being bought up into weakness and it's performing really well. So the headline here for me is that this is a buy. This is doing extremely well because it's not only rebounded from that low, it's making a really nice upward trend. And there is some resistance around this current level, which is where it's sitting on at $1.65. But to be fair, it's gone through that, and it's gone through that as part of the trend. So I think if it does pull back, it'll probably come back around 108, maybe even $1. But I seem to think we might have looked at this, mightn't we? So perhaps we looked at it over here when it was really looking great, and then it sort of went into this corrective trend. Now it's kind of building up for another move. It's created its floor platform and it's moving higher. So it's really great to see that this is now moving up again, and it's taking out some resistance levels. So for me here, it's a buy. I think we can. I would say I don't. I was going to say I think we can. We can definitely draw an upward trend line, and for me, that's a very important part of the technical picture. Is there justification, or am I just looking for something that I want to see? And an upward trend line gives you a definitive rate that it is moving up in, and it also proves that there's higher lows, which is the first step to a reversal of trend. See, you've got all these lows coming in, and then we get the final low. Usually the last low is the most emotional, and then the market does something like does a sharp rally to tell you that dynamics are changing. And although this pulled back a little bit, it's still moving higher. And there were a few that did something like that at the time. We talked about how they spiked and then they went up and came back, but were looking to move higher again. I don't think it was this one, but it was some of the others. There were some others that were similar, but this really has pushed so far away from the low. I think it's very interesting. And so yeah, so for me, it's a buy. And where I would think things are failing is I'd give it quite a lot of room, all the way down to 0.9 cents. That was a really good support point here. Also, if it's making a bigger reversal pattern, like something like a head and shoulders, it would come back to about 0.9 and then go back up again. So if this proves to be a resistance point for a consolidation, then allowing it a little bit of a pullback towards 0.9, I think, is fair enough, given that this could be a much bigger base. But it's really nice to see some bullish charts for a change, and for things to be kind of pushing higher rather than either sideways or lower.
100% agreed. SUI, I like SUI a lot. For a blue chip, I really like it. I considered making a big move into SUI. It's just I'm not buying blue chips. But if I was, I'd be buying a huge bag of SUI. And it's just not part of my overall strategy. So I'm in the higher risk stuff that tends to have higher risk, more chances they could go to zero. But if they do well, they have a bigger upside. And so that's just part of my strategy. Now, next market cycle, I'll probably hold more blue chips because I'll be interested in less risk, even at the cost of potentially lower gains. But SUI, I think, has a bright future. Now, I did look at the token vesting curve, and one of the downsides of like the next 6 to 9 months is some more tokens are going to be coming into the ecosystem. Some more tokens vest over the next 6 to 9 months, and then that really slows down after that. But also, possibly, the bigger bull market comes into the next 6 to 9 months. So I still think the future is very bullish for the price of SUI. When the blow off top happens, that token vesting will only just slow down the price growth a little bit if we have a blow off top in the crypto market. And I suspect we do in the next 12 months. So I think SUI is going to perform really well. I like this nice W pattern in the chart where we got a higher low here and it's setting up quite nicely. So I was really tempted back here. I was like, ooh. Yeah, just the market cap is outside of what I'm looking for. I usually, when I look at things, I ask myself, what are the chances it could do 100x from here? I don't know if it can do 100x from here. Not that it won't do well, but most blue chips aren't in a place where they're going to do 100x from where their price is at. And so it could possibly happen. I just couldn't give it a high enough probability, even though I'm very interested in what this chain is doing. Awesome suggestion. Let's take a look at Celestia. So for me, it's like, I'll give it a buy based on the charts. Am I actually buying it? No. If I was buying blue chips, I would be loading the boats on this. I'm just not holding blue chips. And everyone has a different strategy out there, what you're interested in. If that were part of my overall strategy, I would be buying it. All right. Celestia.
Yeah. Celestia, interesting. Got just under a year's worth of price. Well, let's see if we got a bit more. Yeah, just under a year's worth of price action. It's not a lot to go on, really. We've got this upward move and then this downward trend that started in February, and it's just been fairly consistent in terms of its downward power and trend rate. And what I'm looking for is a sign that this trend rate is reversing and moving back up. Now it's getting drawn towards this $6 area, which there's been a lot of activity around that. So quite a lot of indecision around there, most likely buying, but it's still slipped lower. It's held on to this $4 point, and it looks like it's coming back towards this 6. So right here, I would say it's not done enough for me to be bullish and to think that I could safely buy it. That doesn't mean it won't go up. It could easily go up, and it probably will. It's just that it's not conclusive enough for me to take a position. I'd want to see how it performs around the $6 area because there's a lot of congestion, and I want to see it break through that. But the fact that it gets to it, if it gets to $6, I think that would be a really good sign because it's showing it's tapping on that door to break through and then move back up again. So it's a wait. 2 bullish bars aren't enough to change the trend for me. I'm not seeing anything like strong capitulation that would suggest that the move is over. It's not saying that you definitely need that. It's just that I'd like to see something like that in order to flush out all the kind of weak hands to then get the market to move back up again. So for the moment, it'll have to be a wait, but on the positive side, it's showing two very clear bullish candles, which if we look back at if only this thing would get out of the way, I'll be able to look at the chart clearly. If you notice, if we go through the whole chart, you'll see that there hasn't been two green candles together. And this is the first time since the bear market that we've got two green candles. If we get a third one, I think that would be a bullish sign, a good sign that potentially things are going to go up. But at the moment, it's doing something that's slightly different, which is bullish, but it's just not done enough to conclusively say that we've seen the low. Now, if I was in a really speculative mood, I might just say, okay, I'd have a small punt on it and see where it goes. But we're not in that everything's going to move phase quite yet. So I probably can't be so fast and loose, because there might be something else coming along that looks even better. But I would understand why people might want to do that. And all I would say is there's the big barriers at $6. So that's where I'd like to really focus on it. And if it gets through there cleanly, then I think the probabilities will shift so much more towards the bullish side that it would become a buy for me. So I think come back to that, because it's definitely an interesting one. It's just that it's not quite done enough yet, but those two green bars are very important.
I think Celestia has a good future. I'm going to share some fundamentals that are helpful. This doesn't often happen in stocks, but in crypto, I learned the hard way that there are sometimes some things that come in and surprise you and hit you over the head. Let me share this. This is their token unlock schedule. Now, I love that right on CoinMarketCap, they shared this information. So the team probably would have had to submit this. So they give full disclosure to as many people as possible. Celestia token unlocks. Look at this. So right now, their supply is somewhat fixed of tokens in there. But when this happens, and I can't see when this is, maybe 2 months from now, it looks like a whole bunch more tokens are all of a sudden going to drop into circulation. About not quite double from here, like another 80% or 60 to 80% of the tokens that are out there are going to come into circulation. So looks like that's probably some Genesis drop incentives, some, what is this green? Initial core contributors, and what this yellow is, Series A and B rounds. So there's going to be a token unlock, and a bunch of tokens are going to come out, and that tends to savage the price when that happens. Overall, the chart looks pretty good, and I wouldn't be surprised if it follows this W pattern, that it comes up some and then it comes back down as that happens, because that isn't happening for a couple months, and a lot of times people don't know to check this. I've just learned this through the hard way. And so for me, it's definitely a wait. Now, do I like Celestia? I do. It's another blue chip that's really interesting. Yeah. And is it a buy for me? No. It's definitely a wait. The chart overall, I would normally like what was going on with this chart and be watching it closely. I probably wouldn't buy yet. I just want to see a little bit more rounded bottom, and it really starting to go, like, looking like it's maybe ready to break to the upside. This little run up we've had from 380 to 510 isn't enough to tell me that this is over, especially when you consider these unlocks that are coming. A little bit about Celestia. It's the first modular blockchain network that enables anyone to easily deploy their own blockchain with minimal overhead. Celestia scales by rethinking blockchain architecture from the ground up. It is a minimal blockchain that decouples execution from consensus by introducing a new primitive data availability sampling. Cool. Like, it's another innovation on what blockchain can do. Overall, there's some major upsides to what blockchain can do. Blockchain mixed with cryptographical encryption allows the internet to do some things it couldn't do before. But one of the major downsides of blockchain is that it's just so much slower than centralized databases. If you think about it, blockchain creates better security and better transparency than what centralized databases do. One of the downsides is sometimes you don't want full transparency. You don't want everybody to see what everyone's wallet has in it. And you also need faster speeds. And so a lot of these innovations with new layer 1 blockchains are innovating on giving us faster speeds while giving us some variability. Sometimes there's privacy being figured out, privacy solutions, so that, like, I mean, imagine if everyone could see all your bank accounts all the time. Well, that's not very private. Blockchain is kind of that way. If they know what your wallet addresses are, they can just look and see what your assets are all the time. That's not very private, and for certain things that's totally okay, and for other things that's not ideal. So a lot of these innovations are being figured out over time. So over time, there'll be ways to figure out how to have way better speeds. And already there's some blockchains out there that have way better speeds. One of the ones that I follow closely, I'm heavily invested in, is Devio. With their token Devi, can do 8 million transactions per second, which is just crazy fast. And so that solves the speed problem. Then then there's solutions taking care of privacy and other things. So for me, it's a wait. Much as I like this one, it's definitely a wait. And it is outside. If you look at the market cap, it's definitely outside what I'm buying. It's now crossed into the blue chip category, but it was pretty close to that anyway. And I say the blue chip category starts at $1 billion market cap. So does this show what ranking it is? I think it was like number 70 or something as far as highest market caps. Yeah, just outside of the range of what I'm looking at. Let's take a look at Fantom.
It's been a while, hasn't it, since we looked at Fantom? I think we did look at it quite a few times before, and then it's just been on the back burner. But very interesting chart. First of all, we've got lots of data, which I always like, and it helps because if we look at, for example, the big breakdown from this massive double top, which set off this bear market, and then this massive consolidation, we look at where that high is, that comes across pretty much where it topped out. So this is why it's really important. Someone was asking about technicals. It's really important to look at the longest chart you can get, because these levels repeat. Sometimes not exactly on the level, sometimes it is exactly on the level, but just generally speaking, if you've been buying this breakout, we look to see where it could potentially stop. Now, most recently, it's hit this high in March, and it's been in a bear trend, much like the SUI chart, but it also has performed extremely well in making a low and now pushing up, and it's doing it quite aggressively. So there are signs that this move is over. The downward trend has broken. I've put that as a kind of tripwire for quite a few of these altcoins, where we want the market to show that that rate of decline is ending and it's now forming a base and moving up. So that has happened here, and it happened at this point, even though it went back down again and then broke. Well, actually, respected the line there and then broke through the line here and did it in style. It really went through it. So this is a good sign. It's pushing up. It's going towards the more bullish side. It's reacting more to bullish news. Now, resistance here is where it's consolidating. That's absolutely fine, but this is the new trend rate. So for me, it's a buy, and I think it might get a bit sticky around here, maybe around 0.64. But once it gets through that zone, which I think it will, we can start targeting this $1.23. And if it's correlated with a breakout in the other markets, in Bitcoin, etc., this could really catch up and be an interesting long-term play. So for the moment, step by step, it's formed a base. I like this as an inverse head and shoulders with a breakout at 0.5, and it's pushed up really nicely from that. Sometimes we get a retest of that, so I wouldn't I wouldn't be surprised if it does come back as profits are taken from a short-term point of view, but then I think it should settle down and move higher. So probabilities for me are to the upside, so I'm bullish.
Awesome. I like Fantom a lot as a layer one blockchain. I feel like they've got good potential for some really good traction. Now, their previous highs, they went all the way to the $3 range. I suspect they're going to break way over that in this coming run. As you see how this plays out, right? So Fantom was once trading at 0.3 cents, 1 cent. Like, in fact, if I show logarithmic scale, you can see it bottomed out here at 0.26 cents. And it topped out at, geez, 1,000x from that. Cool. It pulled back in the bear market, but you see these parabolic runs. Like, this is what happens in a greater bull market. But the pendulum swings too far each way. Swung too far to the upside, in my opinion, too far then to the downside. But that's just what happens. People chase green candles and then they sell after massive red candles and get punished because they do things wrong. And then Fantom is gearing up for a nice run. So it's in the blue chip category. If I were holding blue chips, this would also be part of my portfolio. So I do like where the chart is for it. I would rate it a buy, other than I'm just not holding this one because the market cap is too high. I did buy this last bear market. It's just outside of the range of what I'm looking at. And some, I will be holding some blue chips next bull run, but I'll also hold more of what is my bread and butter this time, of projects that are somewhere between 1 to 5 years old. Their market cap has absolutely been punished by the bear market. And I feel like the team is strong and they're still working really hard, doing great things. And they're getting ready to run massively. In my opinion, that's what I'll be buying a bunch of. But next time I will at least hold some blue chips. This time I'm not, other than I still hold a little bit of Cardano. So that's mostly what I'm holding. If I were holding blue chips, though, this would be a buy for me. Let's take a look at Beam.
So Beam is still in a consolidation. If we go back to the 5th, we can see it's hit its low there, which was good. It's had its rally and it's come back again. It's consolidating, so it's not terrible, but it's also not pushing higher, which is what we want to see in order for it to break some serious resistance and then go into a nice upward trend. So kind of a waiting pattern we've got here, but it's been holding around fairly close to prior support, really important support. So it's good that it's doing this here and not breaking below this point, which would be a very bad sign from a technical point of view. There isn't much margin though from here in the lows, but it does look like the market pretty much capitulated around this August 5th. And given that that is the stake in the ground for the low, I can see that there's some argument for taking a buy position here and putting a stop below there. But in terms of it actually pushing higher and when it will do it, it may still go sideways for a long time. So I don't know exactly when it will start to respond, but I do think that this the most important level for it is this 4 cents area. So if I draw a line across here, this would for me would be the trigger point. If it triggers above here, then I'd consider it a buy. And it's a little way away from that at the moment. But as we've seen before, there've been some instances where the market's done this and then moved up a little bit and then suddenly shot up really fast. So I think we're at a point where even though the markets are, some of them are a little bit sleepy and they look like they're not doing a lot, things can change very quickly. So we've got to be alert. So it's not a buy for me right at this point, but that doesn't mean it shouldn't be on the watch list. And we shouldn't be anticipating certain levels to break to push a buy signal from a neutral signal. So for me, it is a wait, but it is interesting what it's doing here. And I do think we should return to it soon, so we don't sort of have it all the way up here and say, oh, we missed the breakout.
Yeah, let me share my screen here. Now, Beam, I'm interested in. Beam ran really hard here and went all the way to 4.5 cents. And I remember everybody covering it here. Now, they did a rebrand, and so they actually have price history. They were called Merit Circle, and they migrated to Beam and did a rebrand. So this only shows their price as of here. But what I don't do is I don't chase green candles. I wait for pullbacks. And we've had this nice pullback. Notice this nice rounding bottom. This is what I like to see. And it seems like momentum is getting ready to turn around the other way. And this is what I look for. So again, it's close to that blue chip category. I don't know if it can go 100x from here. 100x would take it to a $72 billion market cap. They do have a lot of their tokens already in circulation. That's something I like to see. So there's not some cliff where like all of a sudden some huge amount of tokens are going to get dropped on my head if I'm an investor. So a lot of what I like to see is getting set up here. They are tied to blockchain gaming. I think blockchain gaming is going to have a huge run. If I were buying blue chips, this would be added to my portfolio as well, especially right now as I feel the timing is decent on this. Well, some people say, Rain, what if it goes cheaper? And it's like that often happens with my strategy where I'm buying low and sometimes it goes even lower. That's just part of it. I just hold until the greater market goes crazy and that narrative goes crazy. And that's when I sell. Do I end up buying the complete bottom? Not most of the time. Every once in a while it happens. But I'm just dollar cost averaging in at what I feel are good prices. And for Beam, if I were buying blue chips, I feel like it's a good price for what my strategy would then be. And so that's why I would rate it a buy. Cool. All right. Let's jump into some of the comments section. We got Abe asking if we can cover Bump and Senate.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to get a different chart on Bump. I'm not sure if this is going to be the right one. Probably not. Okay, no, let's jump out of that. Where has it gone? So let's just see. So we haven't got it on Coin Trader. So I wanted to get a decent chart, one with a bit of history on it. But for some reason, we're not getting much history. Like today's the 18th, and we're getting up to the 16th. So I'm not really sure why.
Yeah, it's because it hasn't been on Bitmart that long. And so that's why CoinMarketCap has the full history since it launched.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Let's get this on here. And then, right. Well, this is that everything? Well, okay. So what I'm most concerned about is getting the up-to-date price. So it looks like we have got the up-to-date price. We've got that looks like to be the August low spike where it rallied and it's just come back. It's so new. It's a neutral to bearish position, if I'm honest with you. This hasn't really responded that much to like some of the other markets are. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to break into a new low because it's still above that capitulation point, which for me is the most important point on the chart. It is where all the selling happened and there was broad panic and very, very negative sentiment. And it's higher than that point. So whilst it's above that point, I think whilst it's not necessarily bullish, it's like I'm not panicking about it. But having said that, I still can't justify a long position here because it hasn't responded. It's had a decent 3 move up, but then it's just come straight down again, almost like a mirror image. So I think it's going to be a wait for me for the moment. Just trying to think I suppose if the markets are going sideways, there's less incentive to hedge as opposed to its use case, which is to protect your positions. And maybe people aren't feeling like they're going to protect their position. But I think in the past, obviously this is more for Rain than for me, it's possibly a marketing situation that's preventing more people knowing about it and buying it. But either way, for the moment, it's a bit of a wait, but it's nice that it's off that low, and we've seen some of the markets make that low rally, come off, and then make a really nice move up. So we should look at it over the next couple of weeks and see how it's responding, especially if we're about to get some positive macro news from the US rate cut and potentially the dollar moving down. I'd like to see it move positively on that news as well, because to be fair, that is a market related event that should increase the liquidity, which in turn should help this because it's in a finance position. But for the moment, yeah, it's still neutral, and I think it'd have to be a wait at this point.
All right. A little bit about Bumper. Well, this is not in the blue chip category, so that's good. If you recently caught my 5 different videos on my top 5 most undervalued altcoins, you will find this in one of those videos. And I really like this one. Keep in mind that it's risky. Now, when I spoke to them last, it was like 4 months ago. They said they had like 2 years worth of money set aside to continue operations, even if the token doesn't take off. Now, that's quite a runway, and that's what we call it, a runway. How long do they have runway, hoping things take off for them? And so that was good news, as well as I really think what they're doing is transformational if it catches hold. Now, one of the downsides of it, they're first to do this new way of providing basically downside protection, and it is an amazing innovation. One of the past best ways that people did downside protection was they bought or sold options related to buying or selling at a certain price. Their innovation over how to provide downside protection is a true innovation with less inefficiencies. And so you can protect your from a major downside pullback using their system of what they do. I won't go into it. Watch one of the interviews with Jonathan Descartes. I've done several with him, and he explains it very concisely and very precisely how exactly it works and what they're doing. Now, I think what they're doing is amazing, and it can be used to protect from downside reversals on not just crypto, but other things too. And I expect this way of doing things is going to massively catch on because overall, over the long term, this kind of price protection is cheaper than using options. And that's one of the main reasons. It's also simpler, but it's first cheaper, and secondly, it's simpler. For those 2 reasons, I expect Bumper might do exceptionally well. And so I have a huge bag of Bumper. Now, it has gone to a lower low. It broke to a low here. I didn't think we would ever see these prices again. So it went all the way down to 1.6 cents. It hit below that at 1.4 here, and it's currently just barely below that at 1.569 cents. I think that's an amazing price pickup. I put another $50,000 into Bumper when it was at 5 cents. So I really believe in this project. I wish I had money set aside to buy a bunch more at this. If one of my other positions goes up some, even just some, I'm going to reallocate out of that and more into this because I really like Bumper. I think this is an amazing price based on the fundamentals. Now, the chart is a little bit worrisome in that we broke to a lower low. I don't mind buying that because I like the fundamentals of this for the long term. If it then gets cheaper on me, which it has, like I told you, I bought it at 5 cents and it got cheaper on me, then I just try to buy more. And because I realize often I don't end up buying the very bottom. If I had a magic crystal ball and knew exactly where the bottom would be, I would always just wait till that point. Well, I don't have one of those. So I just have to take the other strategy is I identify what I feel is a great price for something, I buy there, and sometimes the price gets even better, and so then I buy more. It is definitely a buy for me. It is well within the type of projects that I look for, where I really like the team behind it. I think what they're doing is massively innovative. And then I'm just hoping, because even though somebody has a great team and they have a great idea, those businesses don't always make it. It has to do with the timing. Like, does like the greater bull market coincide well with what they're doing, so they get that massive lift off before they run out of runway? Now, it seems like they have plenty of runway, so that should be the case. They're also dealing with what they're doing. Competition can come in and copy their idea, and there has been a little bit of competition coming in, but they are first in this space with some really good solutions, so I expect they're going to do pretty well. At least that's how I place my investments for myself. Whether you follow that, that's totally on you and your research and what decisions you make. All right, great suggestions. We have another suggestion to look at Senate.
Okay. So headline here has got to be that it's still a wait. Again, going back to this August low, it's above it, which is great. And it's not managed to break below it. Fine. It's consolidating in a range. So we've got quite a few days of it going sideways. But this is the trend that it needs to break. You know, this is the evidence we need. Or this is the important trend, or that it needs to show that the dynamics have changed from. Now, this low here was above this low here, which is important because it shows that if there is selling pressure, whatever the selling pressure was here, it's stopped at a higher level. Now, that's a good thing, but it's not enough to turn it from a bearish position into a bullish position. But it's the first step. And the next step would be for it to take out some form of resistance. Now, this range is fairly compressed, but I think it'd be reasonable to say that this 0.04 point is extremely important, because that was the next bear short position, which then we saw the August 5th, rallied back up, touched it as resistance, couldn't get through it, but it's come down and consolidated. So if we get over 0.04, get through 4 cents, for me, that's something's changed. We would have broken the downward trend line. We would have made a small base, which is enough for a buy position. Now, how long that lasts for, I'm not sure, but it's enough for a technical buy position. And then we'll see how far it runs from there. We'll take the move the stop up and then see what the trend rate is and look at other factors. But it's interesting that it's holding up. It has been holding up, as I say, since August, and that this low is a higher low. At face value, the trend is still down, but there is other things going on that suggest that we could be approaching a low. And as I say, the tripwire is this 4 cents, and it's a really important level because of the way it's played around that before. So for me, it's a wait, but it wouldn't take much for it to break through there and turn into a buy.
Yeah, I'm really liking the price of Senate here. Now, I called Senate as one of my top buys back here, and it went absolutely crazy, but I covered them and I bought some right near the bottom of this. It was good timing. And then it ran up massively as the blockchain gaming narrative absolutely went crazy. And sometimes you see within the greater space that the overall market might not be doing much, but then certain narratives can really take off. And blockchain gaming absolutely went crazy. And then the narrative shifted to other things, meme coins and artificial intelligence and other things. And so the blockchain gaming narrative has cooled a bunch, which has put us back in green. Like, I really like these prices territory. So for me, it's in the green zone of, I think there's enough value there that I really like it at this price. Market cap is 3.8 million. Can it go 100x from here in a greater bull market? That's my hope. I hope it does at least that. Do I know? I don't know. That's just what I hope it does. I hold some Senate, would like to hold a lot more. I'm waiting till hopefully something else in my portfolio does well so I can pick up more Senate. I can pick up more of the other tokens that I'm really interested in. But a lot of what I have, I'm fully allocated out there. I'm not sitting on a lot of cash. I have my stuff fully deployed because, well, I've liked where the prices are. And so sometimes I do change around my positions. As one goes up, I might not even be in a take profit position, but I've got enough gain there, and something else I have is really, really cheap. And so I can buy more at that price. And so Senate is a great buy at this price. Like I would like more Bumper. I would like more. I would like some of the Fias, which is a gaming token. I would like more of a lot of things I have. Just waiting. Hopefully some things I have run, and sometimes those opportunities open up that I can then reallocate more into what I still love that's still cheap. Cool. Great suggestions, everyone. Let's see. Shout out to Luca joining us from Croatia. We got somebody here from Bilbao, Spain. I saw that earlier. Where'd that go?
Yeah.
Here we go. Bernard joining us from Bilbao, Spain. Cool. Great to have you here. All right. Looks like Abe says, Paul basically saying, hey, listen, buddy, Definity is the new gold. That might be a rough over interpretation, but love the humor. Cool. Well, Paul, thank you so much for joining us this Wednesday. Love having you here. I know the audience absolutely loves it too. I look forward to this every week. So thank you for taking your time to join us.
My pleasure. See you on the other side of this rate move.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Well, now I can share my screen and I can pull up the Definity chart. But while Paul is here, respecting that, you know, it can cause trouble when a project is talking about their own token and talking about the price of their own token. It's best that he doesn't cover it, but doesn't mean that I can't. Now, keep in mind that Definity and OneChain are strategic partners of the channel. So you could say I have a vested interest in this. My bigger vested interest in this is that I have massive holdings of Definity myself because I very much believe in what they're doing. I'm really excited about what I feel could happen with their future. So really good things going on there. They've been in beta testing of their Definity markets, allowing some of their clients access to trading crypto, and that's been live, and they are crushing it with that. They've had way, way, way better usage than they thought during that period. They did get their license in there for crypto trading. I forget the official name of the license, but out of Jersey, which is out of the European Union. So they're officially licensed to do what they're doing. And gosh, I think things have been going really well for them and setting up quite nicely. They also recently, like if you haven't checked out their greater interview on Friday with Manu and Chris, that is the video to watch. If you want to learn more about Definity, you need to watch that video. Now look at, we had this nice bottoming out here, and then it's generally trending up. That doesn't mean it can't correct back down. It could, but there's such bullish fundamentals on that. I think the reason it just hasn't gone crazy yet is because the general market hasn't gone crazy. And as money flows into the market, there's a lot of people who become super researchers looking at what companies are really strong. And when they find Definity, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, why hasn't this gone crazy yet? And then they'll start throwing a bunch more money at it. They'll start covering it a bunch more. And then prices will really take off for them. I think most of the reason that it hasn't gone crazy is most crypto market is just unaware of Definity. They haven't heard of it. They don't know about it. Definity hasn't spent massive amounts of money on marketing. They spend their money on building their ecosystem and what it is they're trying to do. And I think that's a smart place to place it. Then there will be other people that find it and give it bigger coverage. And then green candles bring bigger green candles. So will it break to the upside? I'm betting it will. I have massive holdings in Definity myself, and a lot of my friends do. So great suggestion. I'm a huge believer in Definity. As to whether it makes sense for you, that is 100% up to you. I don't tell you what to do. I only share with you what I'm doing, and more importantly, why I'm making the decisions I do. And then that's just to help you see what I like about it. But as to whether or not you like it, that's your decision to make. Remember that the crypto market bottom is already in. And so do note that good decisions made during these months leading up to this blow off top will lead to life-changing ones when that blow off top happens. If you haven't already, take the Zero to Crypto Hero course. There is a link to that below in the description. That'll help align your thinking correctly. These principles, when applied, will save you and make you 100x over what the investment in the course could be. Use the code Rainmaker for half off. Now, this wrap is for all of you to reinforce the principles that I share that make all the difference in higher returns. Thanks so much, guys.
To the space, chasing all of the games, chasing the pumps and all of the hype trains. But like in life, you buy before you could. Was told to buy when it was pouring like a rainmaker should. I buy when it's down, don't chase the boats that I missed. Cause I always made the time in mind. I stick the one out cause I'm patient like that. And I'll wait for the right time. I'll sell when it's high, I buy when it's low. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm just a rainmaker running the show. Calculated investments, I don't leave with my heart. The principles are simple, they're leaving a mark. Buy when it's boring, just gotta be smart. I sell when it's hype, like all the channels they pump it. That's when I was selling, go parabolic and dump it. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm a rainmaker, making my own start. I'm with the future, learning the past. Makes the time fly by, years going so fast. The game plan is mine, I'll own it now. When I reach the top, haters asking me how. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck. Time is never better, the time like the present. This next 5 years is a gift and it's feeling like heaven. I'm committed to learn, to study and to know that nothing comes easy but with knowledge the game show. Sticking out this wrong cause soon will come a bear market. Learning and growing and when it's slow will be the target. They say it's come out, Bitcoin is dead. The massive decreases can get to your head. Sticking around, the time is better. I'm strong like that, I'll let the others be fretters. 2 years time the ball will bring back the gains. That makes it worth the effort cause here comes the rain. So let's go rainmakers, let's make it all happen. Let go with the hate, let the haters be crafting. I'm here for 5 years, let's do this together. The time is right, the time could be better. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm a rainmaker, making my own start. I'm with the future, learning the past. Makes the time fly by, years going so fast. The game plan is mine, I'll own it now. When I reach the top, haters asking me how. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I'll follow what I learn, not relying on luck. Haters be hating, the time to slow down. Addressing what they say when I'm wearing my crown. They're chasing green candles like someone who was new. I got a vision that was bigger, helping me to push through. I'm still human and sometimes it is rough. And that's what makes me special, simply I stay tough. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck.